So ever feel that little pull, away from the hustle? Maybe thinking about a small place somewhere out in nature.
Or maybe it's just the sheer cost of normal housing these days feels impossible.
Right. Or maybe you've got some land, you're thinking, what's a smarter way to use this, a more connected way?
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's get into it because today on the deep dive, we're looking at something called bikini houses.
Mm.
It's this really interesting idea from Gus, you might know him from the Rapintero YouTube channel, or the BikiniHouses.com site.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating, I think, is how he's taken this simple act, building a small house,
Uh-huh.
right, and woven in all these layers, sustainability, empowering communities.
And it's kind of a reaction against the old ways of building he saw.
Exactly, the inefficiencies, the sort of disconnect.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And to really get our heads around it, we've pulled together quite a bit of material. We've got transcripts from his YouTube videos. He talks history, philosophy, the practical side of bikini houses.
And other building methods, too, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And stuff from the website, BikiniHouses.com,
Mm-hmm.
details on the house models, the workshops they run, this whole community aspect.
Okay.
And this is pretty cool. We even have some audio clips from a workshop down in Puerto Morelos. So you can hear directly from people actually doing the building.
Oh, nice. Real voices from the ground.
Yeah. So the mission for you today, listening in, is basically this. Let's unpack what bikini houses are really about. The core ideas, how they actually build them, that sense of community people talk about.
And the potential impact, right, for people, for the environment.
Exactly. And we'll try to hit those key insights, those moments where you go, okay, I get it, without getting bogged down in like super technical jargon.
Sounds good. Focusing on the aha moments.
So where did this whole thing even start? How did Gus get here?
Well, it sounds like he started digging into prefab housing, prefabricated stuff.
Right. He was looking into the history, wasn't he? Books about prefab in the U.S., in Europe. Apparently, it's got a much longer track record there than in Mexico.
Mm-hmm. And he kept seeing this pattern,
Yeah.
These big centralized workshops, they might start strong, get some success.
But then things change. Demand fluctuates.
Exactly. And they're stuck with these huge overheads, fixed costs. And that often stopped them from really becoming the big housing solution they could have been.
That makes sense. You see that across industries, really, that challenge with big centralized production.
Oh, absolutely. The huge investment up front, all those fixed costs, it makes you really vulnerable if the market shifts even a little. It's just a totally different ball game financially compared to building one house at a time on site.
Yeah. And Gus apparently saw this himself when he thought about setting up his own workshop to churn out these little houses.
Ah, okay.
He hit that exact problem. Fixed costs. You've got the space, you've got the team. But if the orders aren't flowing consistently...
Your profit just evaporates. Or worse.
Right. And he recognized it from his research, from those historical examples. So that pushed him to think differently. Something more flexible, more adaptive, fewer layers of management,
Yeah. And there's social sides to that too, right? Especially, like Gus saw, in places that rely on temporary construction jobs.
How so?
Well, when a big project ends, you often have workers who move there for the job suddenly left with nothing. And maybe without much of a local support network either.
Good point. Yeah, he definitely wanted to move away from that typical sort of top-down construction setup where the bosses are way over here and the people actually doing the work are way over there, almost impersonal.
That disconnect again.
Yeah. He felt like often we're just not building in ways that really respect the workers or the environment for that matter. So when people started asking for his small cabin designs, he began sharing the manuals. The ones he'd originally made for, like factory production.
Ah, so he adapted them.
Yeah, turn them into the construction guides they offer now on the Bikini Houses website.
It's really interesting how his thinking evolved there, using his background in industrial stuff and asking, okay, how do we make simple building easier, cheaper, more efficient? But then realizing the old employer-apprentice thing wasn't quite right for the scale he was imagining.
Exactly. He knew if it was just him and his small team trying to build every single house, they'd hit a wall pretty fast.
Capacity issues?
Totally. And that's where this allied builders idea came from. It's a shift away from, like, paying percentages or fixed salaries. He called it almost an Uberization of construction.
Okay, explain that.
The idea is to directly connect the person who needs a small structure built with skilled people. Carpenters, maybe architects, environmental engineers, whatever's needed.
To a direct link.
Yeah. These builders do the job, the client rates their work, and they get more visible through recommendations, like a word-of-mouth system, maybe boosted by an app they're thinking about.
Right, like TaskRabbit, he mentioned that as an inspiration.
Yeah.
connecting people with needs to people with skills. So it's creating this decentralized network, trying to make it more transparent, more fair for the builders.
And maybe even creating a whole new kind of skilled trade, focused on this simpler, sustainable building.
That's a really interesting angle.
And the philosophy behind it all is, I think, really powerful. It's way more than just putting up four walls and a roof.
Definitely. A big piece is making it financially possible for people who might normally be shut out, like owning a small hospitality business or just their own little home.
You mentioned local landowners or editarios in Mexico, people with communal land rights, deep roots.
Yeah, that social impact piece feels central. Empowering people at the local level, building community, doing it in a way that respects the environment.
He contrasts it really sharply with typical big developments, doesn't he? The kind that can push people out, mess up local culture.
Displacement, disruption. Yeah.
He even calls it a silent revolution of self-construction. Like it's an act of creativity taking back control.
It really taps into something fundamental, I think. That basic need for shelter, sure, but also wanting agency, wanting a real connection to your surroundings, building something with your own hands.
Okay, so let's switch gears a bit. The practical side. What are these houses actually made of? What techniques are we talking about?
Well, the main thing is simplicity. Designs you can adapt, using materials that are easy to get, often cheaper.
Gus has apparently tried a bunch of things over the years.
Right. He started with straw bale and pallets. And get this, that first straw bale house he built like 13 years ago in Tapalpa, still standing.
Wow, 13 years. That kind of blows up some myths about natural building, doesn't it?
It really does. Shows what's possible when it's done right. He also worked with super adobe that's earth-filled beds.
Okay.
Super durable, great natural insulation, cooler in summer, warmer in winter.
Right.
But he admits it's hard work, physically demanding.
I can imagine. Shoveling all that earth.
Yeah, and he's looked at hybrid methods too, mixing techniques and framing with regular lumber like 2x4s.
Even though termites are a big issue in Mexico?
Yeah, he acknowledges that, but thinks it can work if you do it carefully, take precautions. Plus things like compressed earth blocks, rammed earth, other natural options he's explored.
So it sounds like a mix. Prioritizing local, sustainable stuff when possible.
But being practical too. Using what works, what's available for a specific project.
And a key model is the F-frame 12 cabin, right?
Right. Designed specifically to be simple, uses standard commercial materials. The idea is pretty much anyone with basic skills could build one with the guides.
That's appealing. And the modular idea, too.
Oh, yeah, that's smart. Separate plans for the main cabin, then a bathroom module, which can include a biodigester, by the way, for waste treatment.
It's on site, yeah.
And kitchen modules, so you can build it out piece by piece, start small, add on later as you need or can afford it. Very flexible.
And then there's the tin kibble,
Yeah.
which sounds like the ultimate minimalist approach.
Totally. Super basic, super low cost. Really just focus on that direct connection with nature. More than just a tent, but stripping away everything non-essential.
It kind of perfectly captures that core idea, doesn't it? Less is more. Focus on the experience.
Living simply, close to nature.
So let's talk about the Allied Builders Network in action. Gus mentioned some specific people, right?
Yeah, builders like Jara in Baja California, Luis and Fernando down in Oaxaca. Experienced folks who are taking the BikiniHouses designs and kind of running with them, adding their own expertise.
So it's not just copying plans, it's adapting them.
Exactly. Using their local knowledge, their skills. It shows that move away from a rigid apprenticeship model. It's more dynamic, based on reputation, skill.
Which is where that app idea could really help.
Right. Connecting clients with builders who've proven they can do good work. Building that trust through the network.
It really is like trying to create a new kind of trade, focused on these simpler, greener methods. And crucially, he emphasizes fair pricing.
Yeah, that seems really important to the whole ethos. Fair pay for the builders, fair pricing for the hospitality side if someone builds cabins to rent out.
Recognizing the actual value of the work and making sure the benefits are shared, not just flowing to the top.
It's about building a whole system that feels more equitable.
And we got some fantastic insights for the people at that Puerto Morelos workshop, hearing their direct experiences.
Yeah, what do they say? What drove them to be there?
A real mix. Jose Angel, Priscilla, Denise, Antonio, Jorge. Some just wanted an easier way to build something. For others, it was about realizing a dream they'd had for ages, creating their own little space.
And that connection with nature again, I bet?
Definitely. That came up a lot, just wanting to be closer to it.
And what did they take away from actually doing it, from the hands-on building?
A huge sense of empowerment, it sounds like. People talked about getting over that fear of not being perfect, you know, that thing that stops so many of us from starting
Oh
projects.
yeah, perfectionism is a killer.
Totally. And discovering they had this creative side, this ability to problem solve, realizing that, hey, building simply can actually be pretty fast and doable.
That must be liberating.
And the teamwork aspect was huge. Several people said how different it felt from, like, bad group projects in school.
Huh. I think we can all relate to that.
Right. But here, they found this really supportive vibe, made real connections, friendships.
That community building piece again.
Exactly. And just being out there, away from city noise, seeing the stars. They even mentioned swimming in a cenote as part of the workshop.
Wow, nice perk.
Yeah. And overcoming fears, too. One person specifically mentioned being scared of the miter saw, but getting comfortable with it,
Tackling the power tools, that's a big step for some people.
for sure. But the biggest thing, for many, seemed to be this realization, wow, I could always do this. This ability was inside me. That basic human thing of being able to build.
That's powerful, like unlocking something.
Yeah. And it gave them the confidence, the skills to actually go and do it now.
Yeah.
Build their own homes, maybe start a little hospitality business.
It really brings the whole concept to life, hearing those stories.
Okay, let's pull back again. Think bigger picture. Sustainability. This whole bikini houses thing is framed as a response, right, to how we normally build and consume.
Very much so. A conscious pushback against unsustainable ways.
And the environmental benefits seem pretty clear. Using alternative materials, simpler methods.
Yeah, compared to standard construction, tons of concrete, lots of transport. These approaches generally have a much lower carbon footprint.
And Gus seems thoughtful about where materials come from, too. He mentioned being aware of endangered woods.
Right, like peroda or zapote.
Yeah.
Precious hardwoods.
And looking instead at faster-growing woods that can be treated properly, harvested sustainably.
So it's not just use wood, it's use the right wood responsibly. That attention to detail matters. It shows a real commitment beyond just the surface level.
And it ties into this broader trend, doesn't it? This sort of neo-rural exodus people talk about.
Yeah, more and more people are looking for a different quality of life, something closer to nature, maybe simpler, more meaningful.
And Bikini Houses seems to offer a concrete way to do that. And, importantly, a way for local communities, like those ejidatarios again, to benefit from their land without just selling out to big developers.
Right. Keeping the value local. Empowering them to create their own opportunities on their own land. The goal seems to be this kind of virtuous cycle
Explain that.
where building, living, running a small business, it all lines up. It's all done responsibly, considering the impact on people and the planet. Construction, hospitality, daily life, all in harmony.
That makes sense. And Gus also brought up the future of work, didn't he? With AI and automation.
Yeah, a really interesting point. He suggests that in a world where lots of jobs might become automated, having tangible, practical skills like knowing how to build something real with your hands could become incredibly valuable again.
Food for thought there. So if someone's listening and this is sparking ideas, what should they do? Where do they go next?
The website seems like the main hub, BikiniHouses.com. That's where you can see the different house models, read more about the philosophy.
And find out how to get involved with the community, right?
Exactly. There are different ways in. You could sign up for a workshop like the one we heard about, or buy the construction guides if you want to DIY.
Or connect with that allied builder network.
Yeah. And if you actually have land or you're just really keen on building this way, they encourage you to think about becoming an allied builder yourself. Or just build your own bikini house for you, or maybe as a cool little rental.
It sounds like it's really about joining a journey, doesn't it? Learning, sharing, actually doing something positive, starting small, hands-on.
Yeah, that practical action seems key. It's not just theory, it's about making it happen.
So wrapping this up, bringing our deep dive to a close,
Yeah.
what's the main takeaway here? What's the essence of Bikini Houses?
I think at its core, it really represents this hopeful shift. A move towards building and living in ways that are, well, more sustainable, definitely more focused on community.
And more empowering for individuals.
Exactly, more empowering. It's about getting back that basic human ability to create our own shelters, our own spaces, and through that, building different kinds of connections with nature, with other people, even with our own capabilities.
It does make you wonder, doesn't it? Maybe the answers we're looking for a better, more sustainable future aren't always bigger and more complicated.
They're either simpler.
Yeah, maybe it's about empowering people, individuals, to build their own spaces and maybe their own way of life along with it. It's definitely something to think about. How could those ideas apply to your own life? even if you don't have acres out in the country. Just that desire for more connection, more agency, where could that lead?